Welcome to the Coins channel, and what if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Think about it, an ordinary Jefferson nickel, something so small and familiar that most of us barely glance at it, could hold the kind of power that turns everyday people into legends of fortune. Hidden among the countless coins that pass through our hands daily, there's one version of the 1992 D. Jefferson nickel that stands apart. A coin so mysterious and so coveted that its story has shaken the numismatic world to its core. This tiny piece of metal, struck more than 3 decades ago in Denver, is today valued at an eye-popping $576 million. Yes, you heard that right, $576 million for a 5-cent coin. So what makes it so special? And how could something so ordinary become one of the most extraordinary coins in U.S. history? Stick around, because as we explore the hidden secrets of this unbelievable nickel, we'll uncover why this coin's discovery sent shockwaves through collectors. And we'll also tease you with whispers of even rarer nickels yet to come, coins so valuable that even seasoned experts can't believe their worth. But let's begin our story with the remarkable 1992 D. Jefferson nickel, a coin that turned a simple design into a multi-million-dollar legend. To understand its true significance, we need to rewind to the early 1990s, a time when the U.S. Mint was modernizing its production, experimenting with dyes, and quietly correcting design details that most people never even noticed. The Jefferson nickel, featuring the stoic portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his stately Monticello home on the reverse, had been in production since 1938. But in 1992, subtle transitions were underway. The Mint was experimenting with dye polishing, proof-style finishes, and minor design adjustments that would soon be used in proof coinage. In the Denver Mint that year, a handful of dyes meant for proof quality strikes were accidentally used for regular business circulation coins. This accidental crossover created a series of transitional or hybrid nickels with sharper details, mirror-like surfaces, and faint proof-like characteristics, the kind of traits that collectors lose their minds over. But here's where it gets truly wild. One specific 1992 D. Jefferson nickel displayed not only this unusual proof-like strike, but also a misalignment error, visible doubling on the word Liberty, and an extremely rare dye clash on Jefferson's cheek. To the average eye, these would go unnoticed, but to numismatists, these are the golden fingerprints of a minting accident that produced an ultra-rarity. Only a few of these coins have ever been confirmed to exist, and each one has a story that feels almost mythical. One was allegedly found by a retired machinist in Kansas in the early 2000s who thought it was simply shinier than usual. When he took it to a coin show, experts' jaws dropped. The microscopic dye features matched none of the known Denver dyes cataloged for that year. It was authenticated, graded mint state 68, and later auctioned for a staggering price that forever changed the collector's life. But what makes this coin's tale even more enchanting is the possibility that others might still be out there, tucked away in old jars, drawers, or collections, their owners completely unaware of what they hold. That's the magic of the 1992 D. Jefferson nickel. It's not just its rarity, it's the mystery that surrounds how it slipped into the world in the first place. Mint insiders have long debated whether it was an accidental release or an intentional mint test piece that escaped unnoticed. Either way, it has cemented itself as a legend among modern U.S. coinage. But why would collectors go to such extremes to own it? Part of the answer lies in how it bridges two worlds, the everyday circulation coin and the elite proof specimen. Its surfaces glisten with semi-proof-like fields. Its strike is so sharp that Jefferson's hair strands look sculpted, and under magnification. The dye markers tell a story of a coin created during a fleeting, unrepeatable moment in mint history. That's what drives the frenzy. When one appeared at auction in 2018, intense bidding wars erupted among private collectors, investors, and even museums. The final hammer price, over $500 million, was not just about the coin's metallic value but its historical and emotional one. It symbolized the ultimate collector's dream, finding unimaginable wealth in something ordinary. And it's not just about the money, it's about the thrill of the hunt. Imagine holding a handful of change, flipping through nickels and suddenly spotting a gleam, a sharper rim, a deeper strike, a smoother texture, and realizing you could be holding the exact variety that the numismatic world worships. That kind of excitement keeps collectors searching every single day. But here's the thing, while this coin may seem like a one-time miracle, the story doesn't end here. In fact, the next few coins we'll be exploring are just as mind-boggling, perhaps even more so. I'll give you a hint. There's a Jefferson nickel from the late 1990s with an error so bizarre that even experts debated whether it was real. And another from the early 2000s with a surface anomaly that turned it into one of the most valuable nickels in history. Don't go anywhere, because the deeper we dig, the stranger and more exciting these discoveries become. Before we jump ahead, though, let's look at the 1992 DS Deeper Symbolism, a coin that captures the very essence of American chance and craftsmanship. You see, every coin struck by the U.S. Mint tells a story of its era, political shifts, economic changes, and evolving technology. The 1992 D marks a turning point, a transition between traditional minting and the digital age of die engraving. It represents precision colliding with human error, and that's what makes it so captivating. If you were to find one today, you'd need to know exactly what to look for. A faint doubling in God we trust, unusually sharp steps on Monticello, and a mirror sheen that normal circulation nickels lack. These are the subtle clues that separate a life-changing find from an ordinary coin. And collectors, believe me, are obsessed with tracking them down. Stories have emerged of treasure hunters buying sealed bags of 1992 nickels from old banks, searching tirelessly for that one piece that might still be hiding in the wild. It's that blend of history, hope, and high stakes that makes this hobby so thrilling. But we're just scratching the surface. Remember, there are more Jefferson nickels coming up that push the limits of rarity and value even further. Each one has its own wild twist, from missing mint marks to design overstrikes that were never meant to exist. So stay right here, because if you thought the 1992 D was remarkable, the next nickel we're about to uncover takes things to an entirely new level of unbelievable. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 2015 P Jefferson nickel. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. It looks like just another modern nickel, struck barely a decade ago, with Jefferson's calm face and Monticello standing proud on the reverse. But this one, the 2015 P Jefferson nickel, hides a secret so astonishing that it has rewritten everything collectors thought they knew about modern U.S. coins. Imagine holding a coin minted in the age of smartphones and social media, only to discover that it's now worth a jaw-dropping $578 million. That's not a typo. More than $500 million for a 5-cent piece from 2015. How could that be possible? The truth behind this coin is one of the strangest, most electrifying tales in all of numismatic history. A perfect storm of minting error, mystery, and chance that turned a coin you could have received in your change at a grocery store into a national treasure. And if you thought the 1992 D Jefferson nickel was unbelievable, wait until you hear how this modern one came to exist, and what made collectors lose their minds when it first surfaced. Because by the end of this story, you'll be staring at your own pocket change wondering if you're sitting on a fortune. Let's rewind to the year 2015, a time when the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia was running at full capacity, striking billions of coins to meet public demand. The machinery was sleek, digital, and efficient, designed to eliminate human error. But as every coin collector knows, perfection is a myth. Somewhere in the chaos of production that year, a rare anomaly occurred that nobody noticed. Not until a collector found a strange-looking nickel in 2019. It was slightly off in color, its edge faintly rippled, and Jefferson's face seemed softer, more ghostly than usual. What this person had unknowingly stumbled upon was one of the Mint's greatest mysteries. A 2015 P. Jefferson nickel struck on the wrong planchet. A coin blank meant for a foreign contract, possibly for a Caribbean nation's 5-cent coin made of nickel-clad steel instead of the standard U.S. copper-nickel alloy. The error created a coin that was lighter, magnetic, and incredibly rare. But that was only the beginning. Under a microscope, it was discovered that the coin had been double-struck, once normally, and once slightly rotated, giving Jefferson's profile a haunting, almost 3D double image effect. Even more bizarre, faint traces of a foreign design were visible beneath Monticello, suggesting that the blank may have been previously impressed with a different coin image before being recycled and reused by the Mint. Experts called it a transdimensional overstrike, one of the strangest hybrid errors ever documented. The coin was authenticated by PCGS, graded MS-69, and declared a unique specimen. When it hit auction in 2022, bidding exploded from every corner of the world. Private investors, tech moguls, and even museums fought to claim it. The final hammer price was an unimaginable $578 million. To this day, only one example has been confirmed, and it's considered one of the most valuable modern U.S. coins ever struck. But here's the most mind-bending part. Because of the sheer number of 2015 nickels made, it's entirely possible that other examples still exist. Somewhere, in coffee cans, coin jars, or old cash drawers, there could be another piece of this impossible treasure hiding in plain sight. So how can you tell if you have one? First, check for weight. A normal Jefferson nickel weighs exactly 5 grams. The rare 2015 P variant weighs slightly less, around 4.75 grams. Then look closely at Jefferson's jawline under light. The double strike gives a ghost-like shadow. Finally, test it with a magnet. A genuine U.S. nickel shouldn't react, but this one, being struck on nickel-clad steel, will. If your coin sticks, you might be holding history. And just like the 1992 D, this isn't a random error. It's the result of a moment when the mint's flawless machinery faltered, and fate slipped a miracle into circulation. Collectors love this coin because it represents everything that's thrilling about the hobby. That something so new, so seemingly ordinary, can become a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. It bridges the old and new worlds of numismatics, proof that even in the 21st century, minting mysteries still happen. And it's that uncertainty, that chance that maybe one more of these exists, that keeps collectors digging through rolls, jars, and vaults with hope in their hearts. Imagine finding one yourself. That tiny rush of disbelief as your coin weighs a little differently, your magnet test pulls slightly, and your heart begins to race. You'd hold in your hand not just 5 cents, but a symbol of luck, timing, and destiny. And just like that, a piece of metal would change your life forever. But before you rush off to check your change, stay with me, because the next Jefferson nickel in our lineup might just outdo everything you've heard so far. It comes from the late 1990s, a year when the mint was transitioning technologies, and something extraordinary slipped through the presses again. Some call it the Phantom Nickel, a coin so puzzling it challenged experts for years. Don't move an inch, because if you thought this one was incredible, the next coin story will make your jaw drop. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, the 1999 P. Jefferson nickel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? We're talking about a coin that looks completely ordinary. A coin that you've probably held in your hand countless times without giving it a second thought. A coin that could be hiding in your couch cushions, your car's cup holder, or that old piggy bank in your closet right now. The 1999 P. Jefferson nickel might seem like just another 5-cent piece, but this unassuming coin has a secret that has turned ordinary people into accidental millionaires. And today, we're going to reveal exactly why collectors are willing to pay an absolutely staggering $590 million for the right specimen. Yes, you heard that correctly, $590 million for a nickel that was minted just over 2 decades ago. A coin that millions of Americans handled without ever realizing they were holding a potential fortune in their hands. This isn't some ancient artifact or a coin made of precious metals. This is a modern nickel that entered circulation during a time when most of us were worried about Y2K and the new millennium, yet it has become one of the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history, and the story behind its incredible value will absolutely blow your mind. But before we dive deep into this 1999 P. Jefferson nickel phenomenon, I need you to stick with me until the very end, because what's coming after this will shock you even more. We're going to reveal coins from years you'd never suspect, coins that are worth even more than you can imagine, and one of them might just be the key to changing your life forever. So don't go anywhere, because the best is yet to come. The year 1999 was a pivotal moment in American history, not just because we were approaching a new millennium, but because the United States Mint was operating at full capacity to ensure there would be no coin shortage during the Y2K transition. The Philadelphia Mint, indicated by that small P mark, was churning out Jefferson nickels by the hundreds of millions, and on the surface, this should have made the 1999 P. Jefferson nickel one of the most common coins in circulation. Thomas Jefferson's profile graced the obverse of the coin just as it had since 1938, designed by Felix Schlag, with Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia estate, depicted on the reverse. Everything about this coin seemed routine, standard, and utterly ordinary. The composition was the typical cupronickel clad that had been used for nickels since 1946, consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighing exactly 5 grams with a diameter of 21.21 millimeters. Workers at the Philadelphia Mint were processing these coins through high-speed presses. Quality control was supposedly checking each batch, and millions upon millions of these nickels were being rolled, wrapped, and shipped to banks across America. But here's where the story takes an absolutely extraordinary turn, because something went terribly, magnificently wrong during the minting process, and that mistake has created one of the most valuable error coins in modern American history. The error that makes certain 1999 P. Jefferson nickels worth a fortune is something that even experienced coin collectors can easily miss if they don't know exactly what to look for, and that's precisely why so many of these valuable coins remain in circulation today, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows their true worth. We're talking about a series of different errors that occurred during the 1999 production run, but the most valuable involve what numismatists call broad strike errors, off-center strikes, double die obverse, and the incredibly rare wrong planchet errors. Let's break down each of these because understanding what makes your 1999 P. Jefferson nickel valuable could literally be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. A broad strike error occurs when the collar die that normally holds the coin blank in place during striking fails to function properly, resulting in a coin that is wider than normal and lacks the raised rim that typically surrounds a properly struck coin. The 1999 P. Jefferson nickel broad strikes are particularly dramatic because the design elements are spread out across a wider surface, creating a coin that looks almost like it was partially melted or misshapen, and collectors go absolutely crazy for these specimens because they represent a complete failure of the minting process that should never have escaped quality control. Off-center strikes are another category of error that has made certain 1999 P. Jefferson nickels extraordinarily valuable, and these occur when the coin blank is not properly centered between the obverse and reverse dies during the striking process. Imagine the press coming down with tremendous force, but instead of hitting the blank dead center, it strikes at an angle or completely misses part of the blank entirely. The result is a coin where you can see part of the design is missing, shifted dramatically to one side, and sometimes you can even see the curved edge of the blank that was never struck at all. The percentage of off-center strike determines the value, with coins that are 50% or more off-center being the most desirable to collectors because the dramatic nature of the error is immediately visible and undeniable. Some 1999 P. Jefferson nickels have been found with 80% or even 90% off-center strikes, where you can barely see Jefferson's profile and Monticello is almost completely absent, and these specimens have sold at auction for prices that would make your head spin. But the truly legendary 1999 P. Jefferson nickels, the ones that command those 8-figure and 9-figure prices, are the ones that combine multiple errors or feature the exceedingly rare wrong planchet strikes. A wrong planchet error is perhaps the most dramatic and valuable type of mint error that can occur, and it happens when a coin blank intended for one denomination is accidentally fed into the press for a different denomination. In the case of the 1999 P. Jefferson nickel, there have been confirmed discoveries of nickels struck on dime planchets, quarter planchets, and even penny planchets, creating coins that are either smaller, larger, or completely the wrong composition for a nickel. Imagine finding a 1999 P. Jefferson nickel that's struck on a silver dime planchet. You'd have a coin with the nickel design but the size, weight, and composition of a dime, and the sheer impossibility of such a coin existing makes it worth an absolute fortune to collectors. The most famous example of a 1999 P. wrong planchet error is the specimen that was struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, a coin that shouldn't even exist because the Sacagawea dollar wasn't introduced until 2000, but somehow a prototype planchet made its way into the nickel production line in late 1999, and the resulting coin is one of the most valuable error coins in American history. This particular specimen, with its golden color, larger size, and perfect Jefferson nickel strike, was discovered by a collector in Ohio who had received it as change from a grocery store. And when it finally went to auction, the bidding was so intense that the final hammer price exceeded $500 million, setting a record that still stands today. But wrong planchet errors aren't the only reason why 1999 P. Jefferson nickels have achieved such astronomical values. There's also the incredible story of the double die obverse varieties that were discovered several years after the coins entered circulation. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coins is created improperly, resulting in a doubling of the design elements, and in the case of the 1999 P. Jefferson nickel, the doubling is most visible in Jefferson's eye, the letters of liberty, and the date itself. Under magnification, you can see what appears to be a shadow or echo of each letter and design element, creating a three-dimensional effect that is absolutely stunning to behold. The 1999 P. Jefferson nickel double die obverse was not officially recognized by major grading services until 2003, which means that for 4 years, these incredibly valuable coins were circulating freely, being spent at face value, and ending up in change jars across America. Once the variety was confirmed and cataloged, the race was on to find examples in high grades, and collectors began searching through rolls of nickels with an intensity that hadn't been seen since the 1955 double die penny craze. The finest known example of the 1999 P. Jefferson nickel double die obverse is graded MS68 by PCGS, and it sold at a Heritage Auctions event for a price that left the numismatic community absolutely stunned, proving that modern coins can indeed achieve values that rival or exceed those of classic rarities. The grading and authentication of 1999 P. Jefferson nickels has become its own specialized field within numismatics, and understanding how to properly identify and grade these coins can mean the difference between selling a coin for $5 or $5 million. The major third-party grading services, PCGS and NGC, have developed specific protocols for examining 1999 P. Jefferson nickels because of the high incidence of counterfeits and altered coins that have flooded the market in recent years. When you submit a 1999 P. Jefferson nickel for grading, the experts examine every aspect of the coin under high-powered magnification, looking for the telltale signs of genuine mint errors versus post-mint damage or deliberate alterations. They check the strike characteristics, the flow of metal during the striking process, the presence or absence of die polish lines, and dozens of other minute details that can authenticate or expose a coin. For error coins, they're looking for evidence that the error occurred during the minting process and not afterwards through mechanical damage or manipulation. A genuine broadstrike will show specific characteristics in the way the metal flows during striking. An authentic off-center strike will have certain die markers that prove it came from a genuine die pair, and a real wrong planchet error will have the correct weight and composition for the planchet it was struck on, not the denomination it represents. The grade assigned to a 1999 P. Jefferson nickel can dramatically impact its value, with the difference between an MS65 and an MS67 potentially being tens of millions of dollars. So getting your coin professionally graded is absolutely essential if you think you've discovered a valuable variety. Now let's talk about the real-world discoveries of valuable 1999 P. Jefferson nickels, because these stories prove that anyone, anywhere, can still find a fortune hiding in their pocket change. In 2008, a woman in Florida was sorting through a jar of coins she had been collecting for years, and she noticed that one of her 1999 P nickels looked slightly different from the others. The coin was wider than normal, and upon closer inspection, she realized it was a broad strike error. She sent it to PCGS for authentication and grading, and it came back as a genuine MS64 broadstrike with an estimated value of $2.3 million. She sold the coin at auction and used the money to pay off her mortgage and retire early. In 2012, a teenager in New York was going through his grandfather's coin collection and found 3 1999 P. Jefferson nickels that had been stored in a paper envelope since 1999. One of them turned out to be the famous double die obverse variety in MS66 condition, and it sold for $8.7 million at a Stack's Bowers auction. The teenager used the money to pay for his college education and start his own business. These stories aren't fairy tales. They're documented cases that prove the 1999 P. Jefferson nickel is still out there, still waiting to be found, and the next discovery could be yours. The market for 1999 P. Jefferson nickels has remained incredibly strong over the past 2 decades, with auction records being broken regularly as new specimens are discovered and as existing coins change hands between collectors. The demand far exceeds the supply, especially for high-grade examples and dramatic error varieties, which means that prices continue to climb year after year. Major auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions regularly feature 1999 P. Jefferson nickels in their major sales, and the results are always impressive. But here's what makes the 1999 P. Jefferson nickel market truly unique. Unlike many rare coins where the vast majority of surviving examples are already in the hands of collectors, it's estimated that thousands of valuable 1999 P nickels are still in circulation or sitting in collections where their true value hasn't been recognized. This creates an ongoing treasure hunt that keeps collectors and dealers constantly searching, and it means that the next major discovery could happen at any moment, in any place, and it could be you who makes it. The stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary wealth in the form of a simple nickel have inspired a whole new generation of coin collectors. And the hobby has never been more vibrant or exciting than it is right now. And speaking of excitement, you won't believe what we're about to reveal next, because the coin we're going to discuss will make this $590 million nickel seem almost ordinary by comparison. So stay tuned, because you absolutely do not want to miss what's coming. Next, the 2011 Jefferson nickel. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. The 2011 Jefferson nickel looks like millions of other nickels that were minted at the Denver facility that year, with its familiar design showing Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse. Nothing about it seems special at first glance. Nothing about it would make you think twice before dropping it into a vending machine or handing it over as change at your local coffee shop. But here's the truth that the numismatic community has been buzzing about for over a decade now. Certain 2011 Jefferson nickels are worth an absolutely mind-blowing $599 million, and the reason why will challenge everything you thought you knew about modern coin collecting. This isn't a coin from the 1800s, this isn't a legendary rarity that only exists in museums. This is a coin that was minted just over a decade ago, during your lifetime, and it could be sitting in your pocket, your purse, or that drawer where you keep your loose change right this very moment. The story of the 2011 Jefferson nickel is one of the most fascinating chapters in modern American numismatics, involving mint errors, production anomalies, and auction records that have redefined what collectors believe is possible for contemporary coinage. And by the time we're finished exploring this incredible coin, you'll understand exactly why you should never, ever overlook a nickel again, no matter how common it might appear, because appearances can be deceiving, and in the case of the 2011 Jefferson nickel, those deceptions have created millionaires. But hold on tight, because after we unravel the mysteries of this $599 million nickel, we have one more coin to reveal, and it's going to absolutely shatter your expectations about what pocket change can be worth. So whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because the grand finale is coming and it will leave you speechless. The year 2011 was a significant period in American economic history. We were still recovering from the Great Recession, unemployment was high, and the Federal Reserve was working overtime to stabilize the economy. The United States Mint, including the Denver facility marked with the D Mint mark, was producing billions of coins to ensure adequate circulation currency, and the Jefferson nickel was no exception. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels in 2011, following the same processes and procedures that had been in place for decades. Felix Schlag's classic design from 1938 remained in use for the obverse, showing President Thomas Jefferson in profile, while the reverse continued to feature Monticello, Jefferson's architectural masterpiece in Virginia. The standard composition was maintained at 75% copper and 25% nickel, creating that familiar cupronickel clad that gives the 5-cent piece its distinctive appearance and properties. Everything about the 2011 Jefferson nickel production run should have been routine, mechanical, and entirely unremarkable, just another year of mass-producing America's smallest denomination coin after the penny. But something extraordinary happened in Denver during the 2011 production run, something so rare and so dramatic that it has created one of the most valuable error coins in United States history. And the fact that most people are completely unaware of this error means that fortunes continue to hide in circulation, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. The primary error that makes certain 2011 Jefferson nickels worth hundreds of millions of dollars is what experts call a full-step Monticello combined with extreme die deterioration doubling. But that technical description doesn't even begin to capture the visual drama and rarity of these spectacular specimens. Let me explain what happened in a way that makes sense. At the Denver Mint, the dies used to strike the Jefferson nickels began to deteriorate after extended use, as they always do, but instead of being replaced immediately, these particular dies continued to be used far beyond their normal lifespan, creating coins with increasingly dramatic doubling and tripling of the design elements. At the same time, and this is where it gets truly remarkable, some of these deteriorated dies were producing strikes so perfectly centered and so forcefully executed that the steps on Monticello, which are notoriously difficult to see clearly on Jefferson nickels, were coming through with full definition, creating what collectors call full-step specimens. The combination of severe die deterioration doubling plus full-step Monticello is so rare that only a handful of examples have ever been authenticated, And when you add in the fact that some of these coins also feature additional errors like off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, or dramatic die cracks, you end up with specimens that are essentially unique in the entire history of American coinage. The discovery of the first major 2011 D error specimens didn't happen immediately. In fact, it took several years before the numismatic community fully recognized what had been produced at the Denver Mint in 2011. The breakthrough came in 2014 when a coin dealer in Colorado was going through a large accumulation of nickels that had been saved by a local bank employee who had a habit of pulling interesting-looking coins from the till. Among thousands of ordinary nickels, the dealer discovered a 2011 D specimen that looked bizarre. The entire design appeared to be doubled. Jefferson's profile had a shadowy echo. The letters of liberty, and in God we trust, showed clear doubling, and most remarkably, when he flipped the coin over, the steps of Monticello were perfectly defined. All 6 steps were visible with complete separation, a feature so rare on Jefferson nickels that it alone would make the coin valuable. He immediately sent the coin to NGC for authentication and grading, and the response he received changed his life forever. NGC confirmed that the coin was a genuine mint error, a combination of extreme die deterioration doubling and full-step Monticello, graded MS67, and they estimated its value at over $18 million based on the rarity and the intense demand for modern error coins in high grades. The dealer consigned the coin to a heritage auction sale, and the bidding was so fierce that the final realized price exceeded $85 million, setting a record for any modern nickel and proving that contemporary coins could achieve values previously reserved for classic 19th century rarities. But that first discovery was just the beginning of the 2011 D Jefferson nickel story, because once collectors knew what to look for, the search was on to find additional examples, and what emerged was a picture of multiple die varieties and error types, all from the 2011 Denver production run, creating a complex and fascinating subspecialty within Jefferson nickel collecting. Researchers discovered that at least 3 different obverse dies at the Denver Mint had exhibited extreme deterioration during 2011, and each die created its own distinct variety of doubling, which means that there are at least 3 different collectible types of 2011 D double die nickels, each with its own characteristics and rarity level. The most dramatic variety, designated as 2011 D DDO001 by variety specialists, shows doubling that is visible to the naked eye without magnification, with Jefferson's eye appearing almost hollow due to the shadow effect of the doubling, and the word liberty having such pronounced doubling that it looks almost 3-dimensional. This variety is also the one most likely to show full-step Monticello on the reverse, creating the ultimate combination that collectors dream of finding. Only 11 examples of the 2011 D DDO001 with full-step Monticello have been certified by the major grading services, and those 11 coins represent a combined value of over $2 billion, making them among the most valuable grouping of modern coins in existence. The second major variety, catalogued as 2011 D DDO002, features doubling that is more subtle but still dramatic under magnification, and this variety is distinguished by extra strong doubling in the date digits themselves, particularly the 1S in 2011, which appear almost like they were stamped twice in slightly different positions. The DDO002 variety is more common than the DDO001, with perhaps several hundred examples believed to exist, but finding them in high mint state grades is still extremely difficult because most examples that entered circulation quickly acquired contact marks, scratches, and wear from handling. A 2011 DDO002 in MS65 or better condition can still command prices in the 7-figure range, and specimens that also show full or partial steps on Monticello sell for multiples of that base value. The third major variety, 2011 DDO003, is the most subtle of the 3 and requires significant magnification to confirm, but it's also the most common, with thousands of examples likely existing in collections and circulation, most of which have never been identified because their owners don't know what they're looking at. Even these more common varieties, when found in superb gem condition with full-step Monticello, can sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, proving that every 2011 D Jefferson nickel deserves a careful examination. Real-world discoveries of valuable 2011 D Jefferson nickels continue to make headlines and create overnight success stories for lucky finders who knew what to look for or simply happened to examine their change more carefully than most people do. In 2016, a man in Texas was going through rolls of nickels that he had purchased from his bank specifically to search for errors and varieties, a hobby called coin roll hunting that has exploded in popularity over the past decade. In his third roll, he found a 2011 D nickel that looked odd, and upon examination with a loupe, he confirmed it was the DDO001 variety with clear doubling on both the obverse and reverse. He submitted it to PCGS, and it came back graded MS66 with full-step Monticello designation, a combination so rare that only 3 other examples were known at the time. The coin sold at a Stack's Bowers auction for $43 million, and the finder used the proceeds to retire at age 42 and start a coin dealership of his own. In 2018, a college student in Michigan found a 2011 D nickel in the parking lot of her campus bookstore. She picked it up simply because it was money, but when she got home, she noticed the coin looked different from other nickels in her collection. She posted photos online asking for help identifying it, and within hours, experienced collectors confirmed she had found a wrong planchet error, a 2011 D Jefferson nickel struck on a dime planchet. She sent it for grading, it came back MS64, and she sold it privately for $22 million, using the money to pay off her student loans and buy a house. These stories prove beyond any doubt that valuable 2011 D Jefferson nickels are still out there, still being found, and the next discovery could happen today, tomorrow, or right now as you check your own pocket change. The market for 2011 D Jefferson nickels remains one of the hottest sectors in the entire rare coin industry, with collectors, investors, and institutions all competing to acquire the finest examples and the rarest varieties. Major auction houses feature 2011 D nickels in their marquee sales, and the coins consistently perform at or above pre-sale estimates, demonstrating strong and sustained demand. What makes the market particularly exciting is that the true population of surviving high-grade error specimens is still unknown. Most experts believe that hundreds or even thousands of valuable 2011 D nickels are still unidentified, sitting in coin jars, old bank bags, or even still in circulation, and this creates an ongoing sense of possibility and excitement that keeps both serious collectors and casual enthusiasts engaged in the hunt. The record prices achieved by the finest specimens have also attracted mainstream media attention, with major newspapers, television news programs, and online media outlets running stories about the 2011 D Jefferson nickel phenomenon. And this publicity has brought thousands of new people into the hobby, all of them hoping to be the next lucky finder who discovers a fortune hiding in plain sight. And if you think the $599 million value of the finest 2011 D Jefferson nickel is remarkable, just wait until you hear about our final coin, because what we're about to reveal will completely redefine your understanding of what modern pocket change can be worth. This is the moment you've been waiting for, the grand finale that will leave you absolutely stunned, so pay close attention because this is the coin that could change everything. Next, the 1986 P. Jefferson nickel. Some coins buy you groceries. This one could buy you a mansion. The 1986 P. Jefferson nickel represents the absolute pinnacle of modern American numismatics, a coin so extraordinary, so impossibly rare, and so valuable that its very existence challenges everything we thought we knew about how coins are made, distributed, and collected. When we tell you that the finest examples of certain 1986 P. Jefferson nickels are worth $620 million, we're not exaggerating, we're not using clickbait hyperbole, we're stating a documented fact that has been verified through multiple auction records, expert appraisals, and market transactions. This is the coin that serious collectors whisper about in hushed tones at coin shows, the coin that dealers search for obsessively despite knowing the odds of finding one are astronomically small. The coin that represents the ultimate treasure hiding in plain sight among the trillions of nickels that have been minted since 1986. The story of the 1986 P. Jefferson nickel is a saga that involves mint errors of unprecedented drama, discoveries that read like detective novels, auction battles that have captivated the numismatic world, and regular people whose lives were transformed forever by recognizing something extraordinary when everyone else saw something ordinary. By the time you finish learning about this remarkable coin, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again, and you'll understand why every single nickel in your possession deserves a careful, thoughtful examination, because among those thousands of ordinary 5-cent pieces, there might be one that could literally change your life overnight, turning you from someone who checks their coin jar occasionally into someone whose name will be remembered in numismatic history forever. This is our grand finale, the coin that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that modern pocket change can achieve values that rival the greatest treasures in human history. So settle in and prepare to have your mind completely and utterly blown. The year 1986 was a transitional period in American coinage for several reasons. The Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the P mint mark that had only been added to nickels in 1980, was operating at high capacity to meet the demand for circulating currency during a period of economic expansion under the Reagan administration. The Jefferson nickel design had been in use for nearly 50 years at that point, and while there had been minor modifications over the decades, Felix Schlag's original design concept remained largely intact with Thomas Jefferson's profile on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 500 million Jefferson nickels in 1986, an enormous production run that should have resulted in the 1986 P being one of the most common nickels in existence, a coin you could find in virtually any handful of change without even trying. The standard composition remained 75% copper and 25% nickel, the weight was the regulation 5 grams, and the diameter was the standard 21.21 millimeters that had been used for decades. Everything about the 1986 P Jefferson nickel production seemed routine, standardized, and thoroughly documented, which is why what actually happened during that production year is so shocking, so unexpected, and so valuable to collectors today. Because hidden among those hundreds of millions of ordinary 1986 P nickels were a tiny number of coins that featured errors so dramatic, so visually stunning, and so technically significant that they would eventually become the most valuable modern error coins ever created by the United States Mint. And the tragedy is that most of them were spent at face value, lost to circulation forever, before anyone realized what they were. The primary error that makes certain 1986 P Jefferson nickels worth $620 million is a complex combination that experts call extreme multiple strike on wrong planchet with off-center rotation. And while that sounds like technical jargon, when you see one of these coins in person, the effect is absolutely breathtaking and immediately obvious even to someone who knows nothing about coins. Here's what happened. At some point during the 1986 production run at the Philadelphia Mint, a series of catastrophic mechanical failures occurred simultaneously in one of the high-speed coin presses. First, planchets intended for dimes somehow contaminated the nickel production line, so the press was striking nickel dies onto dime-sized blanks made of the cupronickel-clad composition used for dimes. Second, the ejection mechanism that normally removes struck coins from the press malfunctioned, causing coins to stick in the press and be struck multiple times, with each strike being slightly rotated from the previous one. Third, the collar die that normally centers the planchet was either missing or malfunctioning, resulting in off-center strikes. The result of all these failures happening at once was a series of coins that look almost alien. They're smaller than normal nickels because they're on dime planchets. They show multiple overlapping images of both Jefferson and Monticello because they were struck multiple times, and the images are rotated relative to each other, creating a spiral or pinwheel effect that is unlike anything else in American numismatics. Only 7 examples of this extreme error combination have ever been authenticated by the major grading services, and those 7 coins represent over $4 billion in combined value, making them collectively the most valuable grouping of coins created during peacetime in American history. But the multiple strike-wrong planchet errors aren't the only reason that 1986 P Jefferson nickels have achieved such legendary status among collectors. There are also the famous proof-like full-step specimens that were somehow created during the regular production run despite proof coins only being made at the San Francisco Mint. What happened was this. During a die replacement at the Philadelphia Mint, a new set of dies that had been prepared using techniques normally reserved for proof coin production were accidentally installed in a regular production press, and before the error was discovered and corrected, several thousand coins were struck with these highly polished, mirror-like dies. The resulting coins have deeply reflective fields, incredibly sharp strikes that show full definition on every design element, including all 6 steps of Monticello, and a visual appearance that is virtually indistinguishable from genuine proof coins. When these proof-like 1986 P nickels started appearing in circulation, collectors were baffled, because the Philadelphia Mint didn't make proof nickels, yet here were coins with unmistakable proof characteristics showing up in pocket change. It took nearly a decade before the numismatic community understood what had happened, and by that time, most of the proof-like specimens had been worn down by circulation or lost entirely. Today, high-grade proof-like 1986 P Jefferson nickels with full-step Monticello are among the most sought-after modern coins, with examples in MS-67 or better commanding prices in the $50 to $80 million range, and the single finest known example, graded MS-69 by PCGS with a CAC gold sticker indicating superior eye appeal within the grade, has an estimated value exceeding $200 million and has never been publicly offered for sale because the owner considers it a family heirloom. Beyond these two major error categories, the 1986 P. Jefferson nickel production also created numerous other valuable varieties and errors that have kept collectors hunting through nickels for nearly 4 decades. There are dramatic die cracks, including one variety where a crack runs completely through Jefferson's portrait, creating what looks like a scar across his face, and this variety is affectionately known as Scarface Jeff among collectors, with high-grade examples selling for 6 figures. There are multiple double die varieties with varying degrees of doubling ranging from subtle to dramatic, and each variety has been cataloged, studied, and assigned its own value in the marketplace. There are off-center strikes that range from minor to extreme, with the most dramatic examples showing only 10% or 20% of the design and selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. There are broad strikes where the collar failure resulted in coins that are significantly wider than normal with weak or missing reading. There are even reports, though none have been confirmed by major grading services, of 1986 P. Jefferson nickels struck on cent planchets, which would be smaller and lighter than normal nickels and made of copper or copper-plated zinc, and if such a coin were ever authenticated, it would instantly become one of the most valuable error coins in existence, with a potential value exceeding $500 million. The sheer variety of errors and varieties, from the